You harass my family. You kill my father-in-law. Now you try to kill my friend and her 16-year-old daughter.
Again with these false accusations. You and your wife need to stop trying to set me up.
Stop lying! This is over. We are going to end you.
We are back with another episode of Superman and Lois Season 4 with Episode 6, and goddamn, what I've learned from this episode is don't fuck with Clark Kent and his friends or he'll beat the crap out of you. This was one of the best episodes showing Clark's rage get to him, and I think it did a really good job showing where this man is at, questioning where his life is, questioning his aging, and then to have him go full forth with Lex Luthor with no powers was kind of satisfying to watch. But in this video, of course, we're going to be breaking down the episode. I also have an announcement to give you guys at the end of the video, which is kind of good / bad news, depending on how you see it. On top of it, we're also going to quickly talk about the Episode 7 trailer, because I am excited for that as well. But with that, let's start with the beginning of the episode with rageful Lex destroying his entire room because he is pissed off after Doomsday left him. Now, I thought we would have got maybe a little bit of an answer of where Doomsday really went, and I'm kind of curious if we'll ever see him again. I feel like we probably won't just because of CGI budget reasons, but it's still kind of funny that how he just pieced it out of there after last episode. But we know that Luthor here is training to fight Superman himself. He has to take it into his own hands because he no longer has a monster pet to fight for him. And this is going to be Luthor's training arc, especially after that ending of the episode. And it's going to be insane watching the Man of Steel go against his worst enemy yet. But I do love how they point out that while he's doing this, he's burying, getting rid of all his daughter's stuff. She didn't accept his revenge. She wants nothing to do with him. So in turn, instead of, doing the better thing, wanting to be in his daughter's life, he just cut ties with her and burnt everything. Which I guess that's all we're going to see about his daughter this season, unless he does something very sketchy and tries to kidnap her or something along those lines. He's going darker and darker down the path of revenge and wanting to take out Superman and his family. And when he gives Amanda that schematic at the beginning of the episode as well, I totally thought this was going to be a part for his war suit. However, we learned that it wasn't. It was just for those red lights that he used in Smallville, but I totally thought it was going to be something that got implemented into the war suit, which actually, now that I think of it, it still could. Because of the red light, it could be reused to something else, maybe kryptonite, to fight back against Superman. But that was just part of the episode. They also heavily focused on Jonathan being Superboy, going all over the place, saving 3 to 4 people just in the morning alone, and tiring himself out because Jordan isn't doing any superheroing, so it's just Jonathan running around like crazy, trying to be the best hero he can be. It's great to see we're getting that Superboy acknowledgement in this universe, and again, I think I've been saying this entire season so far, I just want a proper suit to get rid of that black suit that looks terrible and give me a proper Son of El suit. But I also like that we have Clark trying to go to Jordan to do something other than just sitting at home all day. He needs to get out there. Even if he's not being a superhero, he needs to get out of the house, get a job, do something with his life, because that'll help him figure out what he wants to do. I mean, in this episode, they quickly rushed Jordan's plot a little bit with him kind of going back to wanting to be a superhero, because, again, this is a shorter season, so they're kind of picking the pace up with certain plot lines, pushing them forward to kind of get us to that end point, because they knew they were limited on episodes, they were limited on budget, so they could only do so much with some of the storylines they set up. So I understand why they have to go a little bit quicker to get through it, which is disappointing. And again, I blame the network for this. It's not necessarily the showrunner's fault, but the network really fumbled this. However, the season's still great, so still, nonetheless, it's still a great show. Now, it's cool that they're continuing with the Lana, John Henry Irons relationship, having her go see him, and making that relationship work, because in the comics, they were together, so it's nice to see them continuing that, and showing that the relationship they started last season hasn't been forgotten about. We also get to set up this episode of Lois and Clark going through literally everything they have on Luthor to try to get him sent back to jail, and also showing that Clark is aging, having gray hair, and, it has to do with the fact that he has a human heart in him. He's no longer full Kryptonian, he's part human, part Kryptonian like his sons, so now he's going to age like a normal person, he's going to start getting those gray hairs, which is both good and bad for Clark. We'll dive more into that in a little bit when we get to his and Lois's part of the episode, but when we pick up with Luthor again, we see Luthor waiting for Lana in her office, trying to stop her from having zoning restrictions in Smallville, also he can build his new headquarters there, making it so that Lana can't stop him, which was setting up the whole part with Clark and Lana this episode, and also Lois going to the farm where they were going to build the new headquarters, and telling the board guy about how Luthor is harassing her family, setting up Luthor's organization to start doubting him, wondering why he's so focused on Smallville and trying to go there, realizing that he's just there to get revenge on being thrown in prison. They're pissed off at their owner of their company not actually running the company, and they're trying to find a way to push him out. Now, that's obviously not going to happen by the end of the series. He went back to Metropolis, so other things are going to happen now. But I do like how they set that up with Lois also confronting Amanda. And I thought this was going to be Amanda's turning point after she found out that Lex walked away from his daughter after his daughter wanted her in his life, and how he was so focused on going after Lois's family that he could never be with his daughter and have that life he always wanted. So I thought that was going to turn Amanda to the good side, make her betray Luthor. And even suggesting that if Amanda does not work with Luthor, she will get killed, which is kind of exactly what he did to other people that have worked with him before. That all wraps up by the end of the episode where we get that big moment. Now, before we got into that, we got more of the Clark realizing that people are starting to notice his secret identity. We have Denise having her heartbeat race while standing in front of Clark because she knows he's Superman. She saw the man dying in front of his family and saw the boys cry over him and Lois cry over him because of what happened last episode. So it's showing how Smallville's slowly starting to realize, all of them, that Superman is Clark Kent. But this is where we go into the part where Lana tells Clark about Luthor intimidating her. So setting up the stages for Luthor, more than going after just Clark's family, but his friends as well. Having Lana and Clark go to see Addie to try to stop that sale from her land. Even referencing Morgan Edge from the first season and what happened and how he came in and almost ruined their town. You know, because he took over and started turning people into Kryptonians with the Eradicator. It really shows that, you know, letting another billionaire into the small town might ruin it once more. And it makes sense why Addie wouldn't want to lose on this opportunity. She's getting offered millions and millions of dollars for her farm that really isn't worth that actual amount. But I do like how it has Clark talking about how bad Luthor is, and having her turn around saying that Clark has sacrificed so much for the town, the world, knowing that he's Superman. And Clark's starting to realize that people know his secret identity. The identity he kept for so many years has finally been revealed. Now, to be fair, he can't really get too mad about it being revealed. He had his body thrown in front of his family in the middle of the town. So of course people are going to realize who he really is. And you can blame Lex Luthor for revealing that secret as well. And the fact that Luthor comes in to stop the sale, just threatening Addie and Lana in his own way, but also trying to offer everyone money, offering them 10 million each just to accept this land, and showing how the townsfolk stand up together knowing something's wrong, because why else would this billionaire, however much money he has, wants this farm so badly? Obviously something sketchy is up, and they all stand up to not let Luthor bully them. And I really like this because it shows how the town is inspired to work together. They care about each other, and they're gonna stop a big corporation from coming in and ruining their town. And I like how that leads into Lana being proud of everyone. They stood up for what they believed in, and it shows kind of that just harmonizing of the town. And I really like just seeing how the small town is working together to try to stop Luthor. But we also tie into Lana and Sarah's storyline for this season, where Sarah wants to study abroad. This is pretty much her story getting pushed out of Smallville, so she's not a series regular anymore. And on top of it, so that her character ends on her own path for when the show is over. Obviously, if there's a season 5, we probably see her again, but I do like how they're giving her a future rather than just ending the show with her in Smallville. They're sending on her journey. She wants to study abroad, and it kind of goes back to when earlier in the episode when Jordan wanted a job. Jordan wanted to work with her, but she doesn't want her ex working there. She doesn't even like her job, and is envious of Jordan being able to go wherever he wants, whenever he wants. But Jordan's saying you don't need powers to do that, which is what makes her come to the realization that she could leave the town. She could go explore the world. She can figure out who she is and get those experiences that she wants, those life-changing experiences to help her figure out who she is. So I love how they did this, because it's showing Sarah not just as a side character, she's a main character, and having her have her own journey in the show as well. Because we saw her at the beginning of this first season, she was in a very bad place, and she's come so far since then. I do like how they're setting this up. Great storylines all around. And those storylines continue when we go to Jonathan being told by his parents that he's doing way too much, and that's when mistakes start to happen. So tying back into another one of the kids, having them realize they have to make a change in their life. And I like that it even comes with Jordan being worried about his brother as well, because he's just he's doing too much. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to be too tired. And they really set up that being tired part for what happened to Lana later in the episode. We have Jonathan telling Jordan that he should be helping out, because even though he knows he wants to take a break, he needs that extra hand to be the hero. His dad can't do as much as he once did, so they need to work together in order to save people around the world. So they're just setting up the super family being a superhero family within this universe, and also how they all step up to the plate to be the heroes. And I love how they dove more into Jordan thinking he's making things worse by getting involved, and he's still just focused on what he did before, how he rushed in to go after Luthor to try to save his dad's heart, and in the end, had it crushed in front of him. So he blames himself for that. He blames himself for the things that have gone wrong. I totally thought a couple episodes ago he would go down the darker path being manipulated by Luthor, but that has completely switched off because now he's going to be a hero once again. They also have Clark focus on his aging in this episode where he's scared of being old. His hair is turning gray, he's not as strong as he once was, his hearing's going. Just never thought he would get old because of his Kryptonian DNA and how he'd live longer, which is the thing in the comics. He lives a longer lifespan than everyone else, and it's really interesting to see how they set him up to be human. Even Lois saying, welcome to being human. And I love how, you know, he was scared of being so different, but now he's scared of aging. But it also has that good moment where he gets to age with Lois. He gets to age with his wife, and they get to grow old together. So I do love how they set that up because it's, you know, showing Clark's fear of mortality and showing that the Man of Steel does have a weakness now, but it's also setting up a nice family moment where he gets to be with his wife and they age together rather than him outliving her. But now that we talked about all that, it's time to jump into the biggest what the hell is going on moment of the episode where Otis breaks into Lana's house, turns on the gas stove, closes all the windows, and sets it up for her getting her house blown up and her dying in it. Which was so dark, and I should have expected Luthor to do this because it's a typical Luthor move. Lana was getting the town to back her up, not let Luthor in, and to do that, he got revenge on her by hacking into her system so she couldn't set off her alarm, and then trying to murder her in her own house. And of course, Otis is the one doing it because Luthor's not going to get his hands dirty, unless it's Superman. He doesn't want people having proof that he's done something sketchy, which is exactly why he did it this way. And I do love that Sarah came in for the save, knocked Otis out, saved her mother, and then having the big moment of the Kents coming in and them having regrets, making it feel like they messed up here. You have Lana now traumatized where she was being strangled. Clark is going to do whatever it takes to take down Luthor for hurting his friend, the person, one of the people he really cares about. Jordan and Jonathan were blaming themselves for what happened because they should have heard Lana and Sarah. They should have been a hero. I mean, Sarah's right. They don't have to be listening 24/7. You know, it's not their responsibility to be the one saving them at all times. But Jonathan has been doing so much work, he slept through it, and Jordan has been cutting himself out by having his headphones on so he's not listening. But because their friend almost died, they regret what they did, and they want to help out the people in their town. They want to help out their friends, their family, and by doing what they did, they weren't able to do it. So they're going to have that regret now, but that's also putting them on that hero's path, working together to be Superboys. And I do love how they have rageful Clark going after Luthor with that full-on rage and just starting to beat each other up. Having Luthor doing that, oh, it's all false accusations, you have no proof, which is obviously, they know it's false, but Luthor has to be like this to make it so that none of the actual authorities can pin anything on him. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, we had the red sunlight lights, which made it so Superman's powers don't work, having it so they can have a Clark versus Luthor bloody fists fight to the death. Which obviously is not going to go to the death because it's Superman. He's not going to kill him. Now on top of it, when Clark goes to confront Luthor, he's not doing it as Superman. He's doing it as Clark Kent, the father and friend who is confronting this man who just tried to kill Lana Lang. And I love how they set this up because even though Superman does get his ass beat a little bit, he does have 20 years of experience or something along those lines of being Superman. And he's definitely going to have that fighting experience. But because in this moment, he is weakened by his recent death and the fact that he also is not at 100% of his power. So of course he was able to get beaten by Luthor to an extent until Clark was able to come back on top. But I do love how they set this up. The man, the father, the friend who came and stood up to his most villainous villain without any powers and not as Superman, but as Clark Kent. I love how it shows that Luthor is happy of what he's done. He's turned Clark into this rageful monster, knowing Superman with a facade, and people can now see who Clark really is, which obviously is fake. Every person in the rightful mind is going to get angry. They're going to have that rageful moment, but Superman always pulls back. He's had his rageful moments in the past, and he's able to pull himself out of it. Sometimes it takes people like Batman or other friends to pull him back, to make him realize what he's doing, and he realizes his mistakes, calms down for a second, and goes back to the Blue Boy Scout. So I do love how they set that up, of Luthor turning Clark into that rageful monster that he was at the start of the episode and having that great fight with them beating the crap out of each other. Because It was just awesome to see. And also showing that Clark isn't healing as fast anymore, where now he needs to go talk to his mom at the fortress to figure out what's going on, which I feel like is going to set up him going there. His mom's going to realize with this human heart, he's not a full Kryptonian anymore. He's half human, he's half Kryptonian, and he's not going to be able to use his powers like he once did. He's not fully Kryptonian like he once was. At least how I'm seeing it. The heart's not able to keep up with him being Superman and the Kryptonian powers, so it's lowering his level of strength. And then I love how the boys reference Mortal Kombat by saying that Clark went full Mortal Kombat on Luthor. Like, that was cool, showing the boys approve of what he's doing, beating Luthor's ass, and having that cool moment of watching their father stand up to this monster. And this also gives us a moment of Jordan realizing he's wrong, that he shouldn't have cut everything out, that he should be listening still. He can't stand on the sidelines without being a hero because he needs to be involved. Now it's Clark saying they all need to be ready until Luthor's behind bars, because this is going to put the Superman family in crosshairs with Lex Luthor as he does what he wants. And I really love how they're setting this up, because it's just like this really good moment where we're probably going to have at the end of the season Superboy, and Superman versus Luthor by the end. And who knows, Luthor might have more enemies to team up with before the end of the season as well, in order to take down the Man of Steel. And like I said earlier with Sarah's storyline, I do love how they had that moment at the end of the episode with Lana realizing she was wrong and Sarah should go study abroad. She can go experience stuff. She's ready. And it even makes more sense now because Luthor's going after them. If Sarah's away from the town and away from Luthor, it'll keep her safe. And I do love how the boys offer to fly her somewhere so she can get experience in different places, so she knows where she wants to study abroad. The first place they go to is the Greek islands, having that fun moment of them being friends and using their powers. But now we got the end part where Luthor went back to Metropolis, and he's preparing because he's going after the family, talking about the device that Milton made that had the red sunlights, having Amanda choose Luthor because earlier in the episode, Amanda confronted him about bullying people, how it's not prison, he can't just go around doing that, and bringing up how Elizabeth wanted to have a life with him, but she only cares about his revenge. She's mad about being kept in the dark, and after she ran the company for 10 years, and I totally thought that this was going to be the moment in the episode where she betrays him. She realizes she can't trust him, and that he's off the rails and going full crazy. And this was going to be her moment of being taken out. But he makes her choose between the two of them, either Luthor or the Kent. But instead, she chooses him. She's full in it. And she has her own plans to fight back against Superman, and they're getting him a war suit, which is definitely setting him up getting that classic one from the comics. However, for one of the trailers earlier, I do know what he's going to get. And if you want to hear what it is, I'll wait a moment before we talk about it. But I thought this was really cool, how they set this up, what they're going to be doing with the storyline, and there's some really good moments coming from it. Now, before we get into what's going to be happening in the future with the war suit and the episode 7 trailer, I do want to make a quick announcement saying that I am actually not going to be here in the next few weeks. This Thursday, I leave to go to Japan, a trip I've been waiting for so long, and I'm really excited. And the show originally wasn't going to air during the time I was away, but because of delays and everything else, it just unfortunately landed on these dates. So at the moment, I'm currently not going to be here to cover episode 7, episode 8, or episode 9. Now, what I'm going to be trying to do while I'm away is I'm bringing my laptop, because if I can, I might try to edit a video, because I do want to get it out so we can talk about the episodes. But because I am traveling and on vacation with friends, it's going to be hard to try to do that in a timely manner. So what I might be doing in the end is doing short form stuff quickly with just like a quick green screen with my cell phone so that we can talk about specific things from the episodes. So if you do want to stay tuned for that, make sure you're keeping an eye on shorts to see that content. And when I get back, I will do full breakdowns for the episodes. Now I'm putting out a poll as well on Thursday, so make sure you stay tuned for that, or let me know down in the comments here if you'd like to see 7 and 8 put together and then 9 put with the final, or if you'd want to see a separate video for each episode. Because if I could do that, when I get back on the Saturday of November 30th, I might end up trying to get a video that evening, if I'm not completely dead from traveling that day. And I'm also going to try to do one for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday if we decide to do a single episode for each. If we do episodes combined together, I'll do 7 and 8 on Sunday, and then 9 and 10 on Tuesday. And then the Penguin, if you're watching my Penguin series, will get thrown in the mix there as well. But let me know, what do you think about that in the comments down below? Let me know what you'd want to see, because I want to work with you guys. I want to get this content out. And even if I'm not able to do it while I'm away, at least we can talk about it later before the final. But now that I talked about the announcement, let's go into that war suit. Because in one of the trailers, we have seen that Lex Luthor is going to be taking John Henry Irons' suit. Now, did this mean John Henry Irons is going to die? Possibly. And I definitely feel like they're going to set that up because they killed Sam Lane, they got rid of Sarah, and, you know, he's not a series regular anymore, so they might kill him off, which I'm hoping they don't do, where he steals suit or hacks into it and takes over it. And I'm hoping by the end of the season, because he does show up with it being still gray and silver, that he paints it green so it matches his war suit from the comics, because I think that would be pretty cool. Now, for the episode 7 trailer, we have, it's pretty much only revolving around Superman's secret identity being revealed and how they need to stop it. They need to make it so it seems like he's not actually Superman, so he's going to be trying to prove to the town that he's just Clark Kent and that Superman's a different person. Obviously, that's probably going to fail. No one's going to believe it, but I am interested to seeing how they play it next week. So we'll talk about that in short form if I can't get a full long form out while I'm in Japan. But let me know, what did you think about this episode this week? What are you looking forward to? Is there anything you saw during this episode that I might have missed that we should go over in the comments? I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're not already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot, and you get to stay up to date with all my Marvel and DC breakdowns. And I'll talk to you later, when I get back from my trip, or next week if I'm able to get a video out.